Bob McDonnell is the governor of Virginia, and he gave the Republican response to Barack Obama last night, and I thought it was, in many ways, brilliant. Now, before you get excited, okay, I don't mean that it was brilliant in how correct it was. It was brilliant in how they pulled it off, the level of deception, and how well they did their marketing. So, we begin with the first clip here at the very beginning of the speech. I instantly knew it was going to be a hit. How? Let's watch.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good evening. I'm Bob McDonnell. 11 days ago, I was honored to be sworn in as the 71st governor of Virginia. I'm standing in the historic House chamber of Virginia's capital, a building designed by Virginia's second governor, Thomas Jefferson. It's not easy to follow the President of the United States, and my 18-year-old twin boys have added pressure to me tonight by giving me exactly 10 minutes to finish before they leave to go watch SportsCenter.
All right. Now, what happened there that impressed me so much? Well, for 7 straight years, we've been covering the State of the Union on this show. And every year we say, why don't they do it in front of an audience? Not the State of the Union, the response to it. Because the State of the Union has all the applause and the pageantry and the President of the United States of America, and then you go to the response and it's usually a guy with, you know, the look of a deer stuck in the headlights. Remember the year Pelosi and Reid did it together? Pelosi's like looking like this the whole time, and then Tim Kaine, the governor of Virginia, did it one year and he had the people's eyebrow. He had like this Christmas setup in the background and he kept lifting his eyebrow and it was awkward. And the whole time Ben and Michael and I would say, why don't you bring a crowd in so it could have the similar feel to the State of the Union? Boom, Bob McDonnell did it, okay? And it looked 100 times better. And then you look at all the little details. He has an African-American woman behind him. He has an Asian man behind him. He brought in his kids, mentioned his kids throughout the speech, showed them. He's packed the room with friendly audience. You know, I don't know if they're just Republicans or if Democrats also joined in and were way too easy to applaud to Governor McDonnell. But the stagecraft was perfect. And he's smooth. It was a nice joke about SportsCenter. So already he's warmed up the audience. And I thought, uh-oh, we got trouble on our hands. This guy's a good politician. That doesn't mean he's right, as we're about to show you. Let's go to clip number 2.
Today, the federal government is simply trying to do too much. Last year, we were told that massive new federal spending would create more jobs immediately and hold unemployment below 8%. In the past year, more than 3 million people have lost their jobs, and yet the Democratic Congress continues deficit spending, adding to the bureaucracy, and increasing the national debt on our children and our grandchildren. The amount of debt is on pace to double in 5 years and triple in 10. The federal debt is now over $100,000 per household. This is simply unsustainable. The president's partial freeze announced tonight on discretionary spending is a laudable step, but a small one. The circumstances of our time demand that we reconsider and restore the proper limited role of government at every level.
All right, so what did he do there? First, he put all the debt on Obama. Oh, look at all this crushing debt we have. And then he took the spending freeze, which is really a Republican proposal. John McCain proposed it during the campaign, and Obama said it was unacceptable. So Obama gives in to the Republicans, says, okay, I'll do your spending freeze. And what does Bob McDonnell do? He goes, pa-ding. It's small. It's laudable. Good job. You see, I'm being bipartisan. But it's tiny, given the giant debt he has. What he doesn't tell you is that the giant debt was given to him largely by George W. Bush. $1.2 trillion in debt handed off, indisputable number, when Barack Obama came into office, done by Republicans, right? And then he says, you know what? We've got to limit government. The government is the real problem. Now, that's where the real trick comes into play. Because, you see, the guys behind Bob McDonnell are giant corporations who don't want you to limit their risk-taking. I'm going to tell you exactly who's behind him in a little bit. But watch him build on this theme. Let's go to clip number 3.
Without reform, the excessive growth of government threatens our very liberty and our prosperity. In recent months, the American people have made clear that they want government leaders to listen and then act on the issues most important to them. We want results, not rhetoric. We want cooperation, not partisanship.
I love that. He doesn't want partisanship. That's why every single Republican senator votes against every single bill that Obama puts together, and congressman too. There was one congressman from Louisiana that briefly voted with Obama and then changed his vote later. Okay, so he sounds good. He's a good-looking guy. He's got the crowd. Everybody's pumped up. They don't want partisanship. What do they want? They want liberty and prosperity. That's what he said. Now, how are we going to get liberty and prosperity? It turns out by making sure we never touch corporate America or regulate them. Let's go to clip number 4.
There is much common ground. All Americans agree that we need a health care system that is affordable, accessible, and high quality. But most Americans do not want to turn over the best medical care system in the world to the federal government. Republicans in Congress have offered legislation to reform health care without shifting Medicaid costs to the states, without cutting Medicare, and without raising your taxes. And we will do that by implementing common sense reforms, like letting families and businesses buy health care insurance policies across state lines and ending frivolous lawsuits against doctors and hospitals that drive up the cost of your health care. And our solutions aren't 1,000-page bills that no one has fully read after being crafted behind closed doors with special interests. In fact, many of our proposals are available online at solutions.gop.gov, and we welcome your ideas on Facebook and Twitter.
Seems so open. He's listening to your tweets. He's listening to you on Facebook. He's got a website, and his plan is so simple. Well, I've seen the Republican plan. We broke it down for you on the show. It's simple because it doesn't cover anyone. You know, it doesn't even get rid of pre-existing conditions. But he said in the beginning, oh, everybody wants health care reform. Everybody. Except when the Republicans were in charge for 8 years, they never proposed a bill. Not one. Didn't care. And wanted to maintain the system exactly as it is. He says we don't raise taxes and that there's no government involvement. Yeah, of course. You don't raise taxes, you don't do any of those things because you don't really have a health care reform bill. What they want to do is no government, no government. Why? Because if there's no government, the private insurance companies that are paying Bob McDonnell's bills and all the Republicans' bills continue to make a giant amount of money. And by the way, the one he mentioned 2 specific proposals. One is we get rid of frivolous lawsuits. Now, that's what they say every single time. There is some merit to it, but it's a tiny percentage of the overall health care cost. I would sign on to it tomorrow if that was part of a real compromise, okay? The second thing he mentioned is wonderfully deceptive. He says, we would let people buy insurance across state lines. I originally liked that idea because maybe that helps break up the monopoly, until we found out the real version, written by the Republicans, allows the health insurance companies to sell across state lines, but much more importantly, to pick any state they like to be headquartered in, and then sell to other states. Because if they pick the state that they're headquartered in, then they could pick the state with no regulations. So then they have even less regulations to hem them in to charge you even more money. You see, when you look under the rock, Bob McDonnell might look good and he's got a good setup, but when you lift that rock up, oh, it's nasty underneath. He's not interested in helping you at all. Let's go to clip number 5.
We applaud President Obama's decision to deploy 30,000 more troops to Afghanistan. We agree that victory there is imperative for national security. But we have serious concerns over the recent steps the administration has taken regarding suspected terrorists. Americans were shocked on Christmas Day to learn of the attempted bombing of a flight to Detroit. This foreign terrorist suspect was given the same legal rights as a U.S. citizen and immediately stopped providing critical intelligence. The Senator-elect Scott Brown has said, we should be spending taxpayer dollars to defeat terrorists, not to protect them.
All right, this one's easier. Just a flat-out lie. Made it up. Stop giving critical intelligence. There's no report of intelligence saying from the intelligence community, from anywhere in the government, that said that that suspect had not been debriefed enough, had not given enough intelligence, and that, or that when he switched over to the federal authorities to be tried, that he stopped giving intelligence. Not a shred of truth to it, okay? He just says it, like, okay, well, there it is. And then, of course, you know, the way he frames it is, should we be helping terrorists or should we be fighting them? People are like, oh, well, yeah, I guess we should be fighting them, right? But what he really means, and what the Republican proposals are, is we should be torturing terrorists, and that we should never bring them to justice. We should hold them indefinitely and not bring them to actual trials. Now, when you explain it that way, what the reality is, it doesn't look as good. Finally, he's going to go back to his tried and true theme of get the government out so corporations can make more money. Clip number 6.
Here at home, government must help foster a society in which all our people can use their God-given talents and liberty to pursue their great American dream. Republicans know that government cannot guarantee individual outcomes, but we strongly believe that it must guarantee equality of opportunity for all. That opportunity exists best in a democracy which promotes free enterprise, economic growth, strong families, and individual achievement. Many Americans are concerned about this administration's effort to exert greater control over car companies, banks, energy, and health care. But over-regulating employers won't create more employment. Overtaxing investors won't foster more investment. Top-down, one-size-fits-all decision-making should not replace the personal choices of free people in a free market, nor undermine the proper role of state and local governments in our system of federalism. As our founders clearly stated, and we governors clearly understand, government closest to the people governs best.
Oh, sounds so good. By the people, for the people. He said free enterprises, free markets, free people exercising their God-given talents and to get individual achievement. Or we allow the banks to take any kind of leverage they want with our money, lose all that money, and then we give it back to them. Taxpayer money. Does that sound like the bankers earned it with their God-given talent and their brave individual choices of freedom and liberty? No, they took it from us, okay? And he says, no, you don't want to overregulate those employers, though. That's the number one problem. Interesting that he said that. So, all this setup, it must have cost a lot of money because he's not just a guy in a room. He's got all these people, and they blasted out in the media all these notices about what Bob McDonnell was going to do. Well, some enterprising folks at Think Progress found out how he funded all of this. And he funded it with McDonnell's Opportunity Virginia PAC. Again, sounds very good. Opportunity. So it must have been real Americans that gave to that PAC that made that speech possible, right? Not the corporations he's trying to protect. Oh, well, you look at this. 53% of the funds given to that PAC were given by banks and financial institutions. Funny how he protected those banks and shrouded them in the American flag and freedom and liberty while they take our money. He didn't tell you that in the speech, did you? Did he? 6% of it was given by the insurance companies, 19% of it was given by the coal companies. In another part of the speech, he said, we have to use all of the energy that is here in America. Coal, oil, more offshore drilling, he wanted, of course. Retail gave 8%, alcohol 3%, tobacco 8%. Well, and then, look, to be fair, 3% was other, and that might have been the American people. Bob McDonnell is not on your side. He talks a great game here, and that's what I'm worried about, and he's going to deceive a lot of people into thinking he's on your side. He's not. He's on the side of corporate America, and all of his actual proposals and the proposals of the Republican Party are meant to protect the richest people in America, the corporations that took taxpayer money in these bailouts and are taking the same risks and will take taxpayer money again if Bob McDonnell and his Republican Party friends win. Unfortunately, a lot of Democrats are also on that side. But if you get frustrated by the Democrats, I'm 100% with you. But don't make the mistake of thinking that the Republicans are on your side, because they most certainly are not. Look at where the money is.